Good morning. My name is Pete Saronis. I am the founder and CEO of Dots and Bridges, here today with my good friend and colleague, Miss Pam Isom. We are going to have a wonderful discussion about thought leadership, about the federal government, about public-private partnership, and the importance of how technology is underpinning a good bit of that domain. We at Dots and Bridges believe in the intersection of technology, humanity, and culture, how technology affects humanity, how humanity influences culture, and how culture shapes the technology we use today. And we like to tell stories. We like to translate. Pam and I might talk a little buzzword bingo today, but we promise we will explain some of the acronyms, which sometimes sound a lot cooler than the actual description. I also have the honor of serving for the utility supercluster, which I mentioned because it addresses smart cities, smart communities, something I know Ms. Pam Isom is passionate about as well, and how important technology is, data, which will be a topic today that we address, and in the spirit of participation, collaboration, and transparency, which are open government tenets. Ms. Pam Isom, again, is somebody who represents that, and I'm excited to talk about it. So we'll get a little techie at times, and we'll also address that relationship between industry and government. Pam is a senior executive service member and someone who understands that it takes conversation, not always transaction, to drive innovation. So we're excited. We'll explore some curiosity, and hopefully by the end of today, all of you folks will get to know this amazing individual who I'm going to introduce now. And I won't read her bio, but I have so many cool nuggets about Pam. And Pam will correct me, and Pam, you could jump in and say, Pete, enough already. But Pam Isom is the Deputy Associate Chief Information Officer at the United States Department of Energy. Here's one of the first long lines of the day. She, in 2018, came to the DOE, was selected to lead the Architecture, Engineering, Technology, and Innovation Office. That's a lot. That's a lot to cover. Takes a special person to cover it. Directing digital strategy, geospatial information, 25 years of digital transformation, information management, IT modernization expertise. The list goes on and on with regard to Pam. She's an excellent advisor to our chief data officer community, both inside the government and outside, think state and local. She was part of the National Inventors Hall of Fame, Women of Innovation Exhibition, one of her many awards, but I find that one to be awfully awesome. She's an author of a book. She has numerous publications. She speaks around town. She has industry experience with her time at IBM. She's an AI analytics expert. She's been awarded 5 patents, which is, in my terms, badass and amazingly cool. She is a master's degree recipient from Walden University and her bachelor's from Chaminade University, way out there in the Pacific Ocean, right, if we will. So welcome, Pam. And I like to mention, this is two people having a conversation. Hopefully your professional journey will shed some insight on your leadership, Pam, the culture that you're developing at the Department of Energy and some of the stories you have along that journey. For those, again, tuning in, the Department of Energy is a unique place. I worked there for 8 years, and I had the joy of working with our national lab. So if Pam and I mention part of that ecosystem, understand, do some research. It's an amazing place that while it's only been in existence since 1977, its lineage is traced back to the Manhattan Project. This is all information you could find online. And the Atomic Energy Act of 1946, early Cold War and the Atomic Energy Commission focusing on the energy crisis in our country, all of that has its DNA in the department. And it's one of those special places that I know Pam appreciates having the opportunity to work there. So Pam, did I do an okay job there?
Yeah, you did just fine. Couple of things. So I do have an associate deputy chief information officer. So my title is actually deputy chief. So I'm the deputy chief information officer, and then I have an associate deputy chief information officer that works under my leadership. So I want to clarify that because I don't want him to think that I'm taking over his role.
No, hey, listen, and I know we're talking about the great man, Gardy. So Gardy Rochus, I assume, is, if listening and watching, sending out some love to him. But no, that shows the humility of Miss Pam Isom. So awesome. And I know there's some other folks that you might give a shout out to. So Yeah, Pam, listen, we're going to jump right in. Since I gave sort of the background on DOE, and this is about humanizing your role, right? Your leadership and its uniqueness. What is one or two of the favorite parts you enjoy about working at the department?
I like the department predominantly because I like the team that we have built up and grown. So I'm enjoying working with the team of people. I'm enjoying watching them grow and develop. And I'm enjoying watching the team really take on and embrace risks, right? When I walked in the door, the team was pretty much risk averse, kind of a bit on the shy side, and now we are just really coming forward with ideas and really doing things to move things forward, and they are not afraid to take risks. And the second thing I like about the Department of Energy is I joined because I wanted to be able to do something to help change the world. That's why I joined the federal government, period. I wanted to do something to help bring about change and impactful change around the world. And so we have the opportunity to do so. We're in the energy space, right? So we have the opportunity, and we have been doing just that. So those are things that I like about the Department of Energy. I also like the diversity when it comes to what we do. So you would think that energy would just be focused on energy, but we are not, right? There's the whole environmental areas, there's the legacy management, there's the human capital, of course, which is everywhere. We've got the various labs. I have the luxury of working with industry and academia quite a bit, and that's something that I've always, wanted to do, and the research. But I would say that, so if I were to boil it down to two things, because I may have mentioned more than two, if I were to boil it down to two, the biggest thing at the top of my list is my people, my team. I'm very happy to have them as a team. And as I said, I'm very proud of the progression that the team has made and their move into being more empowered. And then the second thing would be I love that DOE is a diverse organization you would think that we were just focused on energy, but there's so much more to the Department of Energy than that name.
Well, Pam, that wonderful. And again, I took more than one, two, or three. I just like to open up with that because I think that's the spirit. And again, with your humility, knowing you for a few years now, I'm just, again, honored to have you on the show. And I wanted to kind of emphasize a little bit of what Pam brought up. The mission of the Department of Energy, folks, is to ensure America's security and prosperity, by addressing its energy, environmental, and nuclear challenges through transformative science and technology solutions. And Pam, to pivot kind of back to that, I know that's what I learned when I came over to the DOE from the education department. I was like, whoa, this place is going to take me a while to get used to. There was the research and development side. There's the Office of Science. There's environmental management. Folks, there's 46 or so boxes. Pam's in one of them, but has this horizontal connection through them all as what I call another one of the connective tissue officer types whose job is to engage the community and the mission. So Pam, going back to that with the joy of working there, what is a challenge trying to navigate an agency like the DOE, if there is one, when you're doing a lot of the work you do with data and geospatial to bring in some of the innovation that's happening? Do you find it as challenging or exciting or a little bit of both?
It's both. First of all, I'm the senior agency official for geospatial information.
Ooh.
So by me having that responsibility, that's all data, but it's geospatial data. And so I love that piece of work and that piece of responsibility because I love data science. So because I love data science and the science of data, literally, that fits within my purview. What is challenging is we are a highly distributed organization. The department they call them components in some areas. Here, they're departmental elements. And each one operates a bit. We have program offices, and then we have the national labs, and then we may have the EIA organization. and then NNSA. And so they're pretty independent. And so what's challenging and what I embrace, what is challenging is how do you respect the talents and the mission of the different program offices and departmental elements while still trying to manage things horizontal, because my job is a horizontal responsibility. So that means, am I thinking about things and am I doing things that will address the whole DOE mission? So even though I sit in OCIO, I'm focused on the DOE mission. And so NNSA, for instance, I may be partnering with them to solve a problem. They're thinking about NNSA. I'm thinking about how do I take this capability and span it across the department so that we all benefit. And so that can be challenging. The other area, if that makes sense, right?
No, totally. I mean, that please. And that, again, I just want to emphasize the vast diversity that you speak to. NNSA, National Nuclear Security, Office of Science, which go to the org chart, right, Pam, and see how diverse the organization is. And let's not forget the Office of Energy, right? And you mentioned Energy Information Administration. I mean, come on, you're there trying to canvas the entire enterprise.
I'm trying to do that. And so that's challenging. So I have some significant platforms that help make that happen. So I have I'm the chairperson of the Enterprise Architecture Governance Board, and that's deliberate so that we can drive some maximize economies of scale, right? I'm thinking about maximizing that, even though something may be built for NNSA or one of the program offices, we may build something for one. We are looking at how do we maximize reuse across the department. Because again, we're focused on the taxpayer dollars and spending and managing wisely. So it's a challenge, but it's something that I really, really embrace. The other platform I have is being the senior agency official for geospatial information, same type of thing, right? So I'm not just looking at what do we need to do about data from OCIO's perspective. I'm looking at how do we manage the geospatial data assets, and the program office that I stood up, right? That program office is representatives of the entire complex, right? The entire department. I don't want just OCIO on the program office. We don't need that. We need to look at how do we make solutions, even though I'm an incremental person and believe you should start incrementally and build upon it. I also believe very much in inclusion and including the stakeholders. And so if you combine those together, you work incrementally, but they're involved along the way, so it's easier for them to adopt. So the Office of Science sits on the geospatial PMO, the Program Management Office. And for both of those boards that I personally chair, I have a co-chair, and that co-chair is always from the mission area. At the top of my list is, what are we doing to advance the mission? So
I love it.
Yeah.
No, Pam. I mean, I'm writing down, and I know our listeners, if you haven't been, on the one hand, hearing a tweet that sounds amazing, I think of economies of scale, maximizing reuse, taxpayer dollars. As a technologist, as a thought leader, as a change agent, Pam, I mentioned earlier, I mean, I've seen you speak in person. I've watched your recordings. You're talking about transformation a lot. And I'm sure you're asked 7 days a week and twice on Sunday about cloud strategies and data strategies. And there's the compliance piece, right? And then there's the, finding that time to truly innovate. And I know, as a little segue, some of what you're doing with this Innovation Community Center, your engagement with advanced analytics, or however it's termed these days. Geospatial is incredibly powerful in today's day and age. I find that to be I'm writing down my own Pam isms, as I like to call them. So your leadership in these spaces, I appreciate you mentioning those. Let's talk about that. What are you most excited about, if you can say now that 2 years in, and again, leveraging your time at PTO where you did amazing things and you have this enterprise architecture DNA in yourself. What are you most excited about, or if you could vision for over the next year with some of the programs you're instilling?
So I'm excited about the Innovation Community Center. And the reason why is when I first joined, I'm used to attend the National Lab CIO meetings.
Mm,
And at that meeting, I asked them, if so in listening to them, and not just with the NLCIOs, but in listening to the mission areas, but particularly the labs, they have brought to my attention that they have solutions that they really would want to be leveraged across the department, or at least at headquarters, right? They want
okay.
headquarters to know about what they have. Now, not all of the labs said that, but there were a few that brought that to my attention in a meeting or two that I was having with folks. And so the Innovation Community Center was born after listening to the mission areas.
Wow.
They said we have, and it also, if you integrate that with the needs behind data, right? More data stewardship, you combine those two, and there came the idea of, okay, why don't we create a platform for sharing innovations, sharing data, making it accessible by others, putting some governance around it, and also provide a capability where we can stir up innovation.
Mm,
And so there came the concept of the innovation lab, is what I was going to call it at first. And then after meeting with folks, we said, well, no, let's not call it a lab, because we already have labs,
yeah, we
right?
got plenty of those.
Yeah. So we said, well, innovation center. And then after talking further, the suggestion was, don't just call it a center, because that sounds too much like a center of excellence, which means all the expertise is right here. So community. So that's how community came about, because in a community, the knowledge is spread. So that's how we had the concept of the Innovation Community Center, and that's how the name came about. And I'm really proud of that, because it is a capability, true, but also a platform, a technical platform, and also a community of individuals that want to partner with, that we partner. OCIO leads the ICC, but we partner with like the mission areas, the program offices, with the labs, challenges they bring to us to help solve. I recently am addressing a situation with one of the key offices, and they have issues when it comes to recruitments and recruiting staff and things like that. And so what we're doing is we're working with them to create, using our advanced analytics as a service capability, we're working with them to figure out the right solution. So Innovation Community Center, that's an
Uh,
example of how we are applying it. I'm proud of that, and I'm looking forward to the future. But I mean, listening to the needs of the department, that's how analytics as a service came about, and is a significant part of the Innovation Community Center.
Yeah, Pam, it's when, thank God I have this stream of consciousness, because if I had to be on a script, it wouldn't work for me, because as you say things, it gets me thinking about a new question or two. So what I captured there was, one, obviously, you've created a nexus for information sharing, and then there's an opportunity to learn. I wrote down lab best practices, whether that's in data stewardship, whether it's in what investments are being made into technologies or being developed. And that's what I've always enjoyed, having that kind of DNA, as well as, why build something if it may have already been built, or you can
Right.
purchase it, right? But it still is required. It requires that community feel. And folks, the Enterprise Architecture Governance Board, the Senior Agency Official for Geospatial, I mentioned Chief Data. I mean, Pam Isom is the data democratization ambassador. So while data is the new oil or the fuel, having the ability, Pam, this ecosystem you've created, I think is not only commendable, but is a best practice. So shout out to you and your team. The advanced analytics is a service, though, as it relates to, in this case, something that is mission driven. And I think whether it's recruitment, reskilling, retention, can you talk a little bit about how important it is to do your own homework, right? When you speak to maybe somebody in a human capital office or an NNSA, and this is coming out of left field, but I think that credibility is king and
Yeah.
staying humble. Can you talk about some of the diverse mission, I mean, and what you personally have to do to prepare for some of those engagements, just so they know you are a place they can come and you can help facilitate a technology solution? Is that something
Sure.
you?
So I absolutely feel like that partnerships are at the core of what we do in building partnerships with the program offices and industry and academia. So industry, for instance, seems to see me as this person who is over the she's the deputy CIO. So, let's be careful how we communicate this and that, right? The conversation is different. And I want them to see that I may be the deputy CIO for the federal government, but I'm also a partner. Don't approach
Yes.
me as something that I don't sit on a pedestal, and don't approach me as though I'm on a pedestal. Approach me as though we are business partners. And that's what I prefer. And within the office, that is how we approach our customers. So our customers within the different program offices, they are business partners. And therefore, we're trying to solve problems together. And I don't like really the customer mentality. I don't like it. I like partnerships. I don't like customer mentality. I think that customer service is great. I think that customer excellence is at the top of the sphere, but I prefer us to look at our customers as partners. That's what I mean. So in the past, customers were always right and you were subservient. And I don't believe in that stuff. I believe in partnerships. I believe in working together to solve the mission challenges together. And yes, I am going to listen to you. I'm going to respect you as a customer per se, but I do not believe in that subservient stuff, right? That doesn't work with us. And that is not what I am so proud of my organization. They get it, right? So it's not that we don't think that there are customers, because we do. But if I just do what you say because you are a customer, which is the old school mentality, then we all fall in a ditch.
Yeah, Pam, it's like I'm fired up because you're hitting on words that are loosely used, especially inside the Beltway. Customer experience, it matters, of course. Transformation, us, of course, we got to do it. Fail fast and be agile. And okay, I get it, right? And we ask, a lot of the leadership, senior executive, you've already given a shout out to your team many, many times. I know your team, or several. I had the fortune of working with them and knowing them. And these are incredibly talented leaders in their own right. And I know that I don't have to share with you as a former senior executive that while your journey to that or ascending to that title, it's the people around you, right?
Yeah.
We talked about technology, humanity, and culture. And I know you value your team. The word partnership I loved, and you're a partner. I like to say, even in my world, I want to be a partner. I don't just need a paycheck. And that mentality really resonates with me. So here's the next sort of lead. Unless, you have something you want to add on to that. I just want to say that thank you for those values. And again, those listening, if you're selling something, if you just want to understand the mentality of a senior executive, how important it is that you preach the same thing that you want, or not you, but we want in that relationship with industry. And that is, come do your homework, right? Get to know what my program is, because you're out there investigating. You're learning about EIA, fossil energy, nuclear energy. So just to close out the ICC, as again, a big shout out, is it something that you're finding is in a constant state of evolution? Is it, okay, so somebody can actually come and say, hey, help us solve this mission problem, and you can come at it from
Different
data.
angles.
Okay, that's
You come at
awesome.
it from different angles, because so as I was saying, the customer experience and the customer excellence will come, right? It will come as you learn what our program offices need. And that is the key. The key is to understand what is the mission needs. And they may not always know. So that means you have to partner to understand what's really going on, to provide them insights and to help solve some of their challenges. Because, you know, sometimes people don't know. I don't know what I need. I just know that this isn't working, right? And so in our case, the Innovation Community Center is there for that purpose. It's there to help us look at what is a good business model. I'm actually working with a customer and helping her understand what business model makes the most sense for her organization. And I really shouldn't, probably to the average person, shouldn't care, right? Because I'm sitting in OCIO, just provide support. I just disagree with that mentality.
Yeah.
I think that that is old school. And I love how the Department of Energy allows me to be me and partner with our program offices to work together to collaboratively come up with how we go about solving some of these problems. And then, yes, because I am sitting in the OCIO office, I also I have the technology, right? I can bring the technology to bear as needed, but sometimes it's not technology. Sometimes it could be a recommendation to
Yes.
a mission area for a stronger dashboard. Let's improve your dashboard, because what you're looking at, here are some improved metrics that you can look at that will help you address some of the issues. And then it could be a process improvement. It could be that they just need the right workforce, right?
Yes.
That's what the Innovation Community Center is all about. And that's why we all come together, because, you know, two heads are better than one. We'll put five heads together, right? With the program offices, and we're sitting here and we're strategizing. And so we have to be good at listening, though. So a good partner is a good listener. A
Geez,
bad partner just doesn't listen worth a dime, right?
you are like, I wish I could be tweeting while I'm interviewing you. You are coming up with some awesome ones that are so obvious, but listening, you know, my question was going to go, and it is going to go here. Pam, you know, you sit in a unique position. Title aside, it's relevant. You know that more than anyone. You know, people look up who are people of interest at the department. If I had a buck for every time somebody said, Pete, can you get me an introduction to Pam Isom? I'd be a pretty rich guy. And I'm like, well, what are you going to talk to Pam about? I might be able to, but I want to make sure it's worth the time and attention, you know.
And I appreciate that.
Well, and I know you do. And I feel like there are a lot of us former feds, and even just in general, who should do more of that. What could be a human piece of advice to industry who is dying to meet you? What would you say? And I used to say, just do a little bit of homework on what I care about. Listen to my talks on the public domain and bring me ideas. What would you suggest to your partners in industry when they have the opportunity to meet with you and your team? What are some of the things you hope would come out of that meeting?
So they need to find out what keeps me up at night. Find it out.
And they can do that through, obviously, when you speak in public, through going to, you know, I would imagine presentations you've given. Yeah, that's great feedback.
They could reach out to some of my team. They could ask me. None of them ask me like, Ms. Isom, what's keeping you up at night? But when I'm talking to my mission areas, my program offices, I'm asking them.
All right.
What's working well for you when people come to you and when people talk about your office, what are some of the things that they're saying? What kind of feedback are you getting when you're getting feedback on the performance of your office? And you can make it positive. And then that last question I always ask is, what's keeping you up at night? And you know why I ask them that question? Because it changes, right? Things work well. And then if I leave the Innovation Community Center as it is today, tomorrow we're behind the curve. So I'm always looking to try to figure out how to keep us sharp, how to keep the Innovation Community Center sharp, right? And to do that, I've got to know from my customers, my mission partners, what do they need? And if I ask them this week, you can bet a month from now, it's different, right? So I've got to continuously do that. And so, but none of the the folks, when they call me and they're wanting to talk to me about this product, that product, the ones that get the most leeway is if they are trying to find out about my mission, and they've either done some homework and they know I've got some pain points here, or they suspect I've got some pain points and they're trying to deal with it, right? They're trying to help me. They get the most traction.
You know, Pam, I'm sitting here happy and smiling because I'll tell you, you know, being on the other side, the former shiny penny, as people still say, like, I'm like, well, I've been out 5 years, but it's just a funny feeling. So I appreciate what you're saying, because when I say it now, whether it's for Pam Isom or a colleague, I've never lost that. When I was a Fed, I felt the same way. And I know that's a kindred spirit you and I have. So thank you for just expressing that, because that's the basic stuff. Do your homework, listen to when I talk, read what I'm saying, and sometimes just ask a question that isn't telling me why your product's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So that was my summation. I want to talk about your journey a little bit. How did that help shape who you are today and your leadership?
So my mom and I had a really tight relationship. And I told her everything, probably too much at times.
Yeah.
But I can remember telling her she was concerned when I was thinking about moving away from home, things like that. And I gave her my word that I would go to college. I would get a higher education. I would not get bogged down and not complete my higher education. And she was really concerned with that, right? She saw something and she wanted to make sure that, I mean, my mom just really believed in her kids, right? So she saw something and she just wanted to be sure I was going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with me is, if you can get me to give you my word, then you got it. I'm bending over backwards to hit it. So I assured her that I was going to pursue higher education, that I would go to undergraduate school and I would go to graduate school. I assured her that I would at least get a college degree in a good field so that I could make a living, right? A decent living. And that I wouldn't get bogged down in other things. And so that was what did it, right? Because then I had to do it, right? I told her, and she never had any doubts, but I told her. So that stayed on me the whole time I was in undergrad. And then, so I went to undergrad, graduated from Chaminade University of Hawaii. I was there because I transferred there, after high school. And so I transferred. I wanted to go to school somewhere away, and Hawaii is where I chose. And I was able to do so. And then I also have a military background, right? So I was able to get there. So that's where I went to school. And then from there, in school, I started out thinking about studying psychology. And I didn't really like the classes because I took a computer class and I found that I liked that more. So I like psychology, but yeah, so I like psychology more today than I did when I was at that age.
I
But
dig
I
it.
took a computer class and I was just all over it, right? I'm like, oh, okay. So then I took another one. And then I was like, okay, I can do this too. And then so I took another one, and one thing led to another. And so I ended up majoring in computer science, and I combined that with business. So I combined business management type of skills and computer science skills and got my undergrad. And I just pushed that all the way through. And that taught me that, number one, I always was on the mathematics side inclined. But this really showed me about the software engineering, the programming, that type of skill sets that I found that I really liked. I just liked. So then I moved to my first job. I took a job at the lab at the school, and then I moved to when I left Hawaii. Then I moved back to the States to to Colorado. And in Colorado, then I had my first professional job as a computer programmer. And that was really good. I wrote software for municipalities. So that was pretty good. I was working with city officials. And so that was a really good experience and a good time for me. And then one thing led to another. So then I went from there. I don't switch jobs very often. I don't switch companies, but I went from there. I'm in private sector. I'm working. I'm getting my feet wet as a professional in a professional career. And then I moved from software engineer to software architect, and then from software architect to overarching architect and consulting in the area of architect, and then finally management. And then one day I said, so I was managing software activities and product management and program management, things like that for executives, right? So once I hit my customers were C-level executives, then I said, okay, I'm going to start applying and trying to get some patents. So I've always been a crazy thinker. And so I tell the young people that I talk to today, if someone tells you no, that's perfect. That's just perfect, right? Just
it should inspire you,
yeah,
right? Get you juiced. Yeah.
Gets you juiced, gets you pumped up, and you suddenly want to rise above that. You want to take note. When they say no, you take note because it's a challenge, right? So you take note of the challenge and then you rise above it, right? That's what I do. So that's how the patents came about. So there are things that were like, why is this like this? Why is this working like this? And so it just so happened that the company that I was at, they allowed you to apply for inventions, and then one thing led to another.
Wow.
But then I got so excited about that. So that's when I decided, okay, I've done this. And so I took another job after that one. But all the while, I had my eyes on the Patent and Trademark Office because I wanted to get on the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
And so I saw where they did post a position, and one thing led to another. And then I became on the side of the house where I'm writing the software and governing the software that the inventors are using. And so it was a flip of the coin, right? So no longer was I an inventor per se, because you're always an inventor, but now I'm actually helping the folks get the patents, and you can't help them directly, but you can provide the systems to support grants of patents more efficiently. And so that was just exciting for me as well. And then that led to, and now I had already been managing executives, so then I actually became a executive with the federal government. So I was already doing some of that. Then I actually became a senior executive in the federal government. And that was my first SES slot with the federal government. And it was
no, go ahead.
I said that was an honor. And then after that, I moved over here to the Department of Energy.
Okay. So Pam, first of all, you filled in some gaps for me about the patents, the engineering, and I didn't fail to mention, I just wanted to find a segue here. Your selection as a panelist for the Department of Commerce in their Hidden Figures event, math, and just your engineering. Wow, that's awesome. So, trailblazing women, I know that's in labor and business. That's one of your passions as well. And I, of course, commend you for all that you do in this world of you're an SES in government, managing people and teams. And for all those who are listening, a senior executive service member, the one percenters, leading people, leading change, being results driven, being able to communicate, being just that multifaceted leader. Sometimes can be anticlimactic, but can also pull you away from some of that passion. Pam, you obviously have figured out a way to manage your passion with also being that change agent.
I remember what I promised my mom.
I mean, but your mom, I mean, God bless your mom. I mean, my mother said, Pete, go be a liberal arts major. I'm like, Mom, you're a doctor. Your dad's an architect. And she's like, yeah, but it's going to take you places. Now, granted, I wanted to be a sports broadcaster, as I tell people, but I ended up falling into technology like you. I wasn't a computer science guy. I'm nowhere near as smart as you are. But I fell into saying, I think this IT thing is going to change the world. And in 91 at the Pentagon, I jumped into it. And here I am now getting to talk to a real engineering architect badass in Pam Isom. So let me summarize something for our audience. I wrote down engineer, architect, consultant, manager, overseeing governance. Yes, responding and leading to the senior executives or the C-level executives. See, Pam, to me, that embodies the role and the opportunity for those that get to know you and to work with you, that you have this expanse beyond, oh, she's an enterprise architect in the government. Because we know there are labels, right?
Yeah.
That means, oh, but that is why now to me, I hate to say it, but your title, which is, Deputy Chief Information Officer, this architecture, engineering, technology, and innovation arm that you lead, it's the big kahuna. So whoever gets to talk to you, know who you're talking to, because she is an incredibly horizontally focused, but can get vertical in a minute. And that's amazing. Real quick, can you give me this, because I'm interested, the patents. What's some of the titles of the patents, if you recall any? Because I'm sure they're really geeky, but really cool. What are some of them in? Is it software engineering principles and stuff?
Well, so for instance, one of them is health related.
Ooh,
So I'm
wow.
sitting in front of the computer screen right now. So one of the patents says it will tell me if I am sitting inappropriate. So and it may cause ergonomic issues.
Wow.
So the patent is a health thing. So it will tell you, for instance, I'm a little bit off to the side. So it may not. It will come back and it will tell me you may want to straighten up your posture, for instance, or you're sitting off to the side, so turn your chairs, right? So you're not doing like this, right? Because that can cause neck issues. So the invention is about that, and you can find that today. It has been implemented. There are systems out there that will do that. It'll tell you if you're sitting properly. It'll tell you if you're slanted, because it could cause potential issues. Imagine doing that in a car. Imagine dozing off, right, while you're driving. The system tells you. Those are in vehicles today. My invention has been implemented.
Okay, so you already have me thinking about my posture and my 4-hour commute almost from Rehoboth Beach yesterday. So, all right, I mean, so you're in my head, and I love it because I'm thinking about stuff.
I think it's called an ergonomic health facilitator or something. I can't think of the exact name, but that is what it's all about.
Okay, so we're going to move into the quick fire. You don't even know the questions coming your way, and they are going to be doozies. So you better be prepared, sister. But before we get there, can you just, for the purpose of myself and I think others, as a visionary, as somebody who has ascended and is a leader, I'm sure there are times where you're like, or you're asked, what's the world going to look like in 5 years? And I'm always like, 5 years, that's like saying 50 years. I mean, that's a long, what are you most excited about? And I keep coming back to data. I think about analytics, of course, and artificial intelligence, but, given your background, Pam, what kinds of technologies do you think are going to be impactful over the next year? Not just for government, but for humanity?
I think quantum. So the quantum capability, just because there's so much information in the world, and so the supercomputers will get even more super. I see that happening. I see more of a focus on the business models and the evolution of business models. I feel like today the pandemic, the COVID, like everybody's reacting to COVID, and systems need to be put in place to help us respond. And we don't need that. We need to be prepared. So I see in the future that we are more prepared for pandemics, because I don't think they're going to go away. And I think we are more prepared for crisis. I don't think systemic wise, we just are not prepared. Process wise, the world is just not prepared. And so it's always this chaos. And I know surprises are going to happen, but I could see that the world is better equipped when it comes to crisis, pandemics, crisis management from a process perspective and a technology perspective. And people-wise, I think is naturally going to happen.
Well, I love that. And again, I'm going to give a shout out for you, to you. The Department of Energy, as you know, is one of the critical infrastructure sectors in our country. You mentioned vehicles earlier about automation and the importance of whether it's, health wise, which is another critical infrastructure sector, or sitting in a car, and this impact of, I hope people are hearing that, Pam, you're touching on technology impacting different parts of people's lives, when we drive, the way we sit, right? The way we, think about the energy department, for example, with R&D. So I think that's a takeaway for me that you just did in the span of 30 seconds, touch on how technology is impacting many of those sectors. And you mentioned your work with the municipalities. We don't have time to get into that, but folks, Pam Isom and smart cities and communities and the impact on the citizen and the resident is so important to you, right?
That's super important. I believe in doing as I said, I joined the federal government to do what I could for humanity, to save
Yes.
lives. That means a lot to me. Now, I may go back to industry at some point and work for the private sector, but right now I'm very comfortable with what I'm doing because I can see the impacts for the work that we did for the detecting the wildfires and
Mm-hmm.
the geometrics and the perimeters for the fires. That kind of work that I was a part of, it just means a lot, right? If you look around today, you just know that we need it, and so that those kinds of things matter a lot. Now I'm leveraging some of the skills that I acquired when I worked in the private sector, the product management, the product executive style leadership, making sure that we're applying agile and incremental approaches to things, the data science, the use of the artificial intelligence, and those kinds of things we're leveraging. And all those skills I picked up in industry. But I deliberately wanted to bring into government as well as grow to do something to save lives, to change the world, to make the world better.
Yeah, it's simple and special. And I think it's, again, loosely used, but I'm with you, lady. I think that when you work in the government, you clearly don't do it for the money. And while it's a place, meaning you could, or maybe you do, but you hear this a lot about the passion and the mission and to serve in the government. I did 25 years and it was the hardest decision for me to leave. And yet this 5-year run in industry for me, as you've experienced, I may be back in government, but I'll tell you, you can't take that away. And until you've walked in those shoes, and obviously you have, it's a special, special environment. Okay. So here we go. Pam, these are the tough questions. These are the ones that I'm sorry, they're going to be very, very introspective. And I hope you don't find them to be too hardballish. Okay. 1, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
So I mentioned data science earlier. I want to be a professor of data science and also a research scientist. I love both of those.
Love
They
it.
kind of go hand in hand. So
I see it now in your story and why, but okay. I mean, you're also a gardener, you say,
I am a gardener.
all right. So you love to work and spend some time and work out, and you are a positive role model, but
I try to
okay.
be.
All right. You are. What profession would you not like to do?
I don't know if I would like to do, so that's a hard one. But I care a lot about people, but I care too much.
Hmm.
So I would be afraid to be a I don't know if I could be a nurse. I care too much about people. I would be crying. I, uh, yeah, I
I
can't.
know. See, hey, no offense. I'm sure you'd be a great nurse, but it might not be your calling. And the reason I always tell people is can't be a doctor. I can't stand the sight of blood. And I grew up with a doctor. You get my blood drawn, you'd think that you're sticking a huge needle in my arm. But
But
hey,
the
good.
thing is that you respect them so much because
Oh,
they're, I
yeah.
mean, what would the world be without our emergency responders? And the world wouldn't be, right?
Oh,
So,
spot
um,
on.
right. So, but I can't do it. I don't think I can do it.
Okay, who are your heroes in life?
Chadwick Boseman,
Mm, God
RBG,
rest him. Yep.
RBG. She
Mm,
was another one.
yes.
And then
Yes.
I like Langston Hughes.
Oh yeah, nice.
I like his
That's a trifecta. That is, I mean, yes, we've lost. I mean, I get it. I get it. And those are great people. Wow. Yeah. It even
I
gets
mean, I
me to
have
think about.
others. I mean, I like Oprah. Who doesn't like Oprah, right? So I like Oprah. I have others. So they're not all deceased, but those are at the top of my mind right now.
Yeah. Well, people ask me that on occasion, and I say James Lipton, Anthony Bourdain, and Tim Russert, and they are all in heaven. But
Yeah.
I hope that I live a little bit longer and can continue to tell that story.
Now there's another one, and that's my daughter. So
Oh,
my
yeah.
daughter is brilliant. She's a she's a mathematician, and she's brilliant. She doesn't like me to talk much about her, so I can only say I love my daughter. She's brilliant, and yeah, she's adorable. So it's my daughter, and of course my other half, my husband.
Yes. Yes. That's well said. I always say I married an incredible woman from Pittsburgh, and the other half, the better half, or as I say, happy wife, happy life. She's the rock. So I have all this, for the other half, in my case, being my wife. That's a great shout out to those that are in your circle of love and influence. So that's great answers. What do you value most in people?
Authenticity. So
Mm,
I don't like a fake. I like people to be genuine and to be authentic. In fact, my whole family, my husband, he likes that authenticity and the genuineness about folks. The same with me, and I can see it in my baby girl too. Yeah.
mm. That is a great answer. I love it. Authenticity. And you being so humble, I would throw in, I'm sure humility matters as well,
Humility
because
matters.
yes, yes, wonderful. Okay. Last question. And then you're going to get the Pam Isom parting shot, what you would like to leave with the audience. So you can be thinking about that. If you could give a 21-year-old Pam Isom advice, what would that be?
Um, okay, now that one was hard. Let me
Ah,
see.
come on. That was good. I'm glad it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. So I think at 21, I believed at 21 that I could do anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything was possible. So I wouldn't change that. Um, but I think at 21, I probably would have got spent less on credit, used my credit cards less. That's what I would have done at 21. If I could
There's
do anything no student loans
yes.
and less credit.
Hey, there's a lot in that response, and trust me, you can learn a lot from it. From saving money, being financially or fiscally responsible. No, good answers. Good answer, Pam. Okay, so this is where you're going to hopefully, in all we talked about, treat it like when you're closing out one of those panels. What would you want somebody watching this to take away about your journey? Today we were recognizing you as a thought leader, as which you are, a change agent, a visionary, a mom, a wife, a daughter. This program's about, educating, informing, and enlightening, and getting to know the person behind the role. And I appreciate you tremendously. I'm honored to have celebrated you. You're influential, and I just even learned a lot more about you today. So major shout out to you.
Thank you.
No need to thank you. What would you like folks to take away from this and learn or realize about who Pam Isom is?
Well, I think in the conversation, I've tried to convey that I'm pretty much a down to earth person. I respect authority. Certainly, I do. And I think that we should respect authority. I think for the young people coming along, definitely respect it, but also know that we are human beings just as they are, right? So we are all human beings. and approach us as though we are a partner of yours that you want to excel, right? If we sense that, if I sense that in my customers, if I sense that my customer is seeing me as a partner, and if I approach my customer as a partner, that means that we want each other to be successful. We want each other to excel, and that will cause me to open up more, and it will cause your customer to open up more when they see that. So if I want to earn trust, which was a question that you asked me about earlier, if I'm going to earn trust, first of all, do what you said you were going to do. Be a person of your word. But then watch how you approach, right? What's in your head? Is it in your head that you want to be excelling and growing together? Because if it is, that's what's going to come across. If that's not in your head, you're not a partner, and it's not going to last. And then the other thing that I wanted to say is when it comes to I try to be a mentor to others as much as possible. And when it comes to being a mentor, you always want to take the challenges. You take those challenges, you turn those challenges into innovations. Those challenges are how you get good innovations that matter. So rise above the challenges, turn them into innovations, turn them into things that are, let them say, there is no way this can be done. You just make a mental note and then you go do it, right? So that's kind of how I feel, and that's how I live my life. So just don't bother. Don't you dare tell me that I have to do it this way or that it can't be done. You can do that. But don't you think that just because you said that it's not going to happen for me, because that is absolutely the trigger that will cause me to look at how to excel at the very thing that you said I couldn't do, right? And that's how that's how I've raised my daughter, right? That's how we've raised our daughter, is they don't get to tell you that you can't do something. They just don't. They don't get to tell you that, right?
Well,
So those are a few things, and then I think we should reevaluate our business models. Look at our business models different. Look at how business models should be, and evolve our business models, because the traditional business models, I mean, don't get caught by surprise again if another pandemic happens, right? It's gonna happen, right?
yes.
So have a plan B, have a plan A, and have a plan B, right? So be a strategic thinker, have a plan A, and ask my team, right? Every time we're dealing with something, I'm like, okay, so what's the alternate plan if this doesn't work out, right? So always be strategic. That's how you're strategic. And then I think that's just about it. I'm not anything more than a person that's trying to do something good for the world, and trying to take all the skills that I've learned, bring it to the federal government. But I don't believe in sitting idle, so I'm trying to grow while I'm here as well, and I am. And I think that if you ever get to the place where you feel like that you are not learning, right? You should be hungry to learn. So if you ever get to the place where you are not, then you need to rethink something. To take a step back and rethink, because we should be ever learning. We should be genuine. We should be authentic. We should just be who we are. And we should accept the fact that, they might say no, but you don't have to say no. Mental note, and then rise above it.
I mean, Pam, that's not a parting shot. That's like a parting recipe for who's Pam and your willingness to engage. You know, at Dots and Bridges, we really do appreciate curiosity. We talk about the value of the human spirit, and this is sort of exponentially been a wonderful conversation with you because, like I said, I've had the opportunity to work with you a bit, know you, and just have some conversation. And your passion is so infectious, and it's big thank you to you. And I hope the audience, if you get to watch this and rewatch it again, there's so many nuggets in here that we hope that we conveyed, which is this incredible individual who's humble and has had a journey that's impacted her, and she's still learning today. I think we all as human beings need to think about humility a lot and be open to being the leader, the coach, the mentor that you are, Pam. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.